Now we're focusing on relationships among school districts, government officials, community organizations, and others to create partnerships geared toward fighting child hunger. To begin this session, I'm happy to introduce one of No Kid Hungry's strongest advocates, Dr. Alice Emmerman, Director of the UNC Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention, where we have been based since 2014. Alice is also quite creative, if you all don't know that. She did a rap last year, so I can't wait to hear what she's going to do this year. Dr. Emmerman. There you are. Okay. How can I miss you? Thank you.
So hello, everybody. We're so excited to have No Kid Hungry in our center. I can tell you there's been buzz all week long getting everything ready with tambourines and everything else. So I'm also really delighted to introduce the mayor, Steve Schewel. I've known Steve for over 40 years. There's a lot I could say about him. I'm not going to say too much, though. I want you to hear from him. I first met him at Duke when he was the head of the student organization and had his hair down to here, if you can see. And he was a real activist then, not only for on campus, but also off campus in the community. And that's what always impressed me about that, and it's continued in his work throughout. Couple quick things. A bunch of us, there were like 6 of us who shared an old house on Birch Avenue. Modest house. We put in $10 a week in a pot for food and took turns cooking. We were outraged when the rent went up to $60 each. But we did have 2 televisions. The picture worked on one and the sound worked on the other one. So when we were really good about coordinating, we could make that work. So you're going to hear from Steve about something that I'm sure he had a lot to do with getting it going. It's a CHAMP grant. It's from the National League of Cities, and it's really going to be a wonderful way to continue a lot of the work that all of you all are doing related to No Kid Hungry. So I have to embarrass him a little bit before he gets up here. As Luann mentioned, last year I introduced the Attorney General with the rap, rap sheet, legal guy kind of thing. Also, there was a lot of rapping going on as part of the conference. So, but here in keeping with the conference theme, we're going to do a verse from the song to the song. This is going to set a really low bar for the rest of you.
Oh, it's a
so
great bar.
you'll see how corny you can go. I did learn that absolutely nothing rhymes with hungry. You may have found that out by now. Just give it up if you're trying. I actually looked it up online on the rhyme dictionary, and there's nothing there.
It's not much.
So fortunately, I have some singing help here, and we're going to put the words up. I really want you to lift it up for the mayor here. Use your tambourines. I want to hear more volume than I did earlier. So,
yeah.
All right.
All right, can everybody see that? Here we go. There we go. He's a mighty good mayor and a great team player. Fights against child hunger, especially when they're younger. He's a champ for school health, he knows of low. Let's try it again. He's a mighty good mayor and a great team player. Fights against child hunger, especially when they're younger. He's a champ for school health, putting those in low. Well, no kid goes hungry in our state. Yeah. Nice work. That's good.
Okay, so I get introduced a lot. That was the best. I know a lot of you all know Alice really well or have worked with her from afar or a near, and let me just tell you that she used to have a bicycle named Sylvia. I could tell you a lot of other good things. She talked about cooking in that house. She was the good cook. A lot of us weren't quite the cooks that Alice were. But it's wonderful to be here with you all. Thank you so much. And what a fabulous turnout to think about fighting hunger across our state. I mean, this is a room full of people, and and a big room full of people. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Durham, and I'm going to try to put it in kind of a context for you. Bon Appetit called Durham America's foodiest small town, and Southern Living named us the tastiest town in the South. That's awesome, and well-deserved. A lot of you all have, if you don't live in Durham, hope you've been there and eaten in our great restaurants. You know, give me an hour at Gocciolina or Watts Grocery or Toast or Bonds or Salt Box, and I'm really happy. That's what makes me really, really happy. But my happiness is deeply tempered by the fact that many people in Durham can't afford to eat in most of those places. More than 20% of the children under the age of 18 in Durham are food insecure. That totals more than 12,000 children, the great majority of them children of color. 2/3 of Durham's public school students, 33,000 students, of our 33,000 students are eligible for a subsidized lunch. Durham is a prosperous city for most of us, but fully 20% of Durham's people live in poverty, and poverty and food insecurity, as you know, go hand in glove. And then there is also the very important factor of racial equity. When we think about child poverty in Durham, our child poverty rate, approximately 20%. Our child poverty rate for white children is 8%. Our child poverty rate for children of color is 37%. And this is in our prosperous city. So we've got to change this reality, and there are many good people in Durham working hard to do that. End Hunger Durham has documented 70 food pantries in our city, many of them staffed by volunteers at local churches. The Durham Farm and Food Network is connecting local farmers to the people in our city who need food. Durham Public Schools is offering universal free breakfast to thousands and thousands of kids every day, and we really feel like we're helping to lead the state in that regard and are very proud of it. The Legion of Devoted Volunteers at Meals on Wheels is delivering a hot meal 5 days a week at 450 homebound seniors. The Food Bank, the Interfaith Food Shuttle are providing food to thousands of people in Durham every month. And at the same time, there's a startup economy, a startup food economy that's beginning to bubble to the surface in Durham. Bull City Cool, and I know those folks are here somewhere, is a local food hub for small companies to aggregate and distribute area farmers fresh food. Eastern Carolina Organics is an anchor business in East Durham. Our farmers markets are thriving. I'm proud that the city's solid waste department is rolling out a pilot food recycling program that can save us tax dollars, lower our carbon footprint, create jobs, and eventually provide mulch to our gardeners and farmers. But we know that Durham can do a lot more. I support an idea that is gaining strong currency in Durham, the idea that we can create a model food system in our beloved city. We want to become known not only as the city where we eat in the best restaurants, play the best basketball, yes, Chapel Hill, get the best health care, and where we do the best job feeding all of the people who live in our city. Let's provide the resources and coordinated strategy to end hunger in Durham. Let's support our local farmers and create good jobs in the businesses and nonprofits that are driving this effort. Let's create an economy around food security and food justice. During the past 6 months, we've begun that work in earnest. We've convened a group of 40 people, farmers, consumers, restaurateurs, food pantry managers, grassroots advocates, to make a community food security plan for Durham. We're fortunate to have the support of Duke University's World Food Policy Center, which is putting its intellectual and financial resources behind this effort. Our approach has been deliberate. We've taken the first few months of this process to look at Durham's food system through a racial equity lens. We know that if we don't put racial justice at the forefront of our work, that we will simply be repeating the mistakes that we've made in the past, replicating the same patterns of hunger and obesity that we see in our city now. An early and important part of this effort is to take on the critical issue of feeding our school kids and feeding them with nutritious food. As I said, we're really proud of our nutrition work in Durham Public Schools. We have a wonderful, wonderful nutrition department in Durham Public Schools, and we feel like in many ways we are leading the state. But we And Lou Ann's given us the tambourine, so thank you. I'll go off script to just mention for a minute our Durham Bowls program, where local chefs, maybe some of them in this room, are working with our cafeteria managers to create fabulous meals that those managers can make for themselves and serve to their kids. And we're really excited about that. But one of the things that we know that will help us meet is that the work we do in nutrition in our public schools will also help us meet our racial equity goals. 80% of the children in our schools in Durham, in our public schools, are people of color, are children of color. And so doing this work is also helping us meet our racial equity goals for our entire community. To enable the work, we applied to the National League of Cities for a CHAMPS grant last year that Alice mentioned, and we were very fortunate to receive it. Peter Skillern, who's here today, and Neil Curran from Reinvestment Partners put this grant together, along with Jim Keaton, who is the head of our nutrition services for Durham Public Schools. Yeah, great. Yeah, hit the tambourines. And so we're very grateful to have that partnership and to receive the grant. We've pulled together a great team to get this work going. Jim Keaton is taking the lead, along with Linda Harris from his staff. We've had wonderful support from the kids, from the adults at No Kid Hungry. Lou Ann Crumpler and her colleagues who have been in all of our planning meetings from the start, and we're so grateful for that support. So let me tell you about our goals with the CHAMPS grant. And some of these goals have changed a little bit and are changing. I'm going to mention some of the original goals in the grant. We've changed them somewhat, but I think this will give you the idea. One of them is to turn 50% of our after-school snacks into after-school meals, funded by the Child and Adult Daycare Program. We want to be feeding kids good, nutritious meals in after-school, and we know that we can, and that we can get it funded. Right now, we're not feeding after-school meals to any of Durham's school children. With this grant and the funding it will help us access, we plan to provide 28,500 meals per month in Durham Public Schools. Last summer, we had 108 summer meal sites. We probably won't be expanding that number much, but we will have higher quality sites where we're able to feed many more children. We fed 2,800 kids per day last summer. This summer, we're aiming at feeding 3,300 kids per day. We also plan a 10% increase in the daily meals we provide through our universal breakfast program. So we'll be serving more than 11,000 breakfasts per day. This effort is very much in line with the primary goal of No Kids Hungry, and we are so grateful again for their support. We'll do all this by developing quality sites for our summer meals, through outreach programs in the schools, through engagement with businesses, community organizations, and churches, and through increasing volunteer involvement with the program. We are thrilled to be doing this work in Durham. We have a long way to go to reach our goals that we have set for ourselves through the CHAMPS grant, and a much longer way to go to reach our bigger goals for food security and food justice in Durham. But that's the work that we need to do if we're going to make the city we love a city for all. I want to thank you all for having me today. I want to thank you for the amazing work that I know all of you all are doing across our state. I want to thank our Durham folks. Where are they? They're out there someplace. Yeah. And thank them and tell them how grateful I am for everything that you all are doing to feed our kids and to feed our city. We need to make sure that everybody in Durham is eating plenty of food and that it's nutritious food. I know that we can do that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate having the chance to be with you today.